Alright, so I've made this video before in other videos, but I'm just going to make it a separate video so it's easier to find. So I've mentioned before, like certain Pokemon were found in Generation 2's prototype, one of the first 1997 Space World demo scrapped ideas. And so it tells you that they actually had this idea at some point, even earlier than it was finalized, but they still ended up using it. It was delayed, you know. So, like, if you remember, like, Pokemon like Yama, the Dragonfly, that was in Generation 2. That was in Generation 2. However, its evolutionary form was also supposed to be in Generation 2, but it was scrapped. This, I believe it was Yamimega, the big giant dragonfly that's green and has the big red eye, prism eyes that a fly has. Its wings are, like, really, you can see it. Big giant, you know, that Pokemon's really cool. So yeah, like that was a good example. You also had a Swine, I believe, Mammoth, or what was it? The one that Swine evolves into. And then there was, I mean, Leafeon was moved to Gen 4, but there was no signs that Glaceon was actually supposed to be an idea at Gen 2. Let's see here, I think. Shuckle, believe it or not, actually was supposed to have like an evolution, but this is before it became like a defense tank and all that. You know, it was definitely a different Pokemon at the time, so that kind of makes you wonder how that would have worked out. Again, scrapped ideas, but they reworked it into something else. There was also, I believe, Licky was supposed to be in Generation 2, but it was scrapped and it was moved to Gen 4. There was also Tangrowth. There was also a baby Pokemon that Tangela was supposed to evolve from, and then it would evolve into Tangrowth after it evolves into Tentacle. The three-stage evolution. You know, you had the baby form, Tangela, and then Tangrowth. Its name was even different. It even looked a lot different. It looked a little bit more sinister. Like it enjoyed like torturing people with its evil smile, but you never saw its eyes or anything. So whatever that Pokemon really was, we never know because it's just, you know, like Tangela. You know, all you see is its eyes, but you don't see the rest of its body and its shoes. You know, so who knows? It could be like little Karibo from like Yu-Gi-Oh and all that. It would be really interesting. So. But yeah, so the idea is they moved a lot of Pokemon from Gen 2 over to Gen 4 and then to the futures. And so we really have to really ask ourselves, you know, how many Pokemon, and I mean, and it makes sense, you know, because these were evolutions of Pokemon that were actually, that didn't have an evolution, or maybe they just thought like, well, it could use another evolution. So they decided to add something to it. And some like Pokemon like Pikachu or maybe Raichu or Gorochu. Gorochu was never used, but it does make you wonder, did they recycle it into another Pokemon maybe, but it was a separate Pokemon line? I mean, maybe it's also possible that the reason why Gorochu was scrapped at the same time was not just due to balancing, but they probably thought that, you know, they didn't want to like a complete contender. Maybe they just wanted Pikachu to have like more of a, like a smaller mascot and all that. So like, you know, Raichu was like, that's why they went with the baby, because, you know, they were going for they were probably going because Pikachu is its mascot. And they figured, well, you know, Pichu is adorable. And so they wanted to kind of give, like, the mascot family of Pokemon, you know, a more cute appeal instead of, like, it just coming off, like maybe turning it off. I don't know. I just kind of had this theory about it, but it kind of made me wonder if maybe that's why Gorochu was completely scrapped from Pokemon, like, as far as, like, aside from, like, a rebalancing issue as well. Maybe they figure, you know, well, you know, we're just going to take it out, too, but, you know, they also figure, well, you know, maybe for sales-wise, too, because Pikachu, again, was its mascot, but at the same time, Pikachu wasn't always the first mascot. It's possible Rhydon could have been the very first mascot, because it was the very first Pokemon technically drawn. This was before you even consider that Rhyhorn was even a Pokemon. But Rhyhorn was still added in Generation 1, so it was still part of the original 191. Again, the Pokemon Omega before Mew came in, because when they talk about 190, Mew just came in and took Omega out, but it replaced a Pokemon that you probably wouldn't even know existed unless you saw the prototype assets. So it really does make you wonder what that was all about. So yeah, you know, basically, if there's any other scrap Pokemon that I'm not seeing that were actually in Generation 1 or 2, I will make a video about it, but right now it's kind of we'll just have to come back to it right now. But yeah, it's very interesting to see like how many Pokemon that were part of like existing Pokemon that just were outright cut because of, again, due to cartridge limitations, or maybe they just couldn't get past the 255 variable like before they started realizing how, like, when they switched over to like 16 I think when Pokemon Crystal came out, that's when they really started realizing what they could really get away with cartridges and all that, because Game Boy Color cartridges were a little bit better than just Game Boy cartridges. And again, I don't know if the Japanese cartridges compared to like North America and all that. I mean, I know they're still made in Japan, but but bear with me here. I think it was really still like the same limit capacity and all that, because it was still running on it basically still running on the same handheld cartridge, and therefore Nintendo still being dealing with their cartridge limitations at the time, there was really only so much they could do with it. But knowing people in Japan love what they do, it's not surprising that they come up with a lot of stuff that they couldn't necessarily use, so they had to do the next best thing and try to work around it somehow. So yeah, so again, you have a lot of scrap Pokemon. You have a lot of Pokemon that were scrapped that were from existing Pokemon, or some of them were probably so cool but they didn't use it at the time, but they ended up like later down the line, so that is proof that they probably still do have it saved somewhere in their database. And I wouldn't be surprised that Satoshi Tajiri might even have the original 191 still, or whatever 300 Pokemon they had, because that still makes you wonder, what Pokemon did they originally have and they were scrapped? How many Pokemon have been scrapped that they probably have on record? If somebody can get their hands on that information, wow, man, you'd really be seeing some crazy ideas people come up with Pokemon ROM hacks. I mean, it's already nuts what some people do with like third dimensional games and all that, or the third generation with like Mega Stones, the Z moves from Pokemon. I think it was Pokemon Hyper Emerald I was playing. I still haven't finished that game because I'm still trying to figure out how to get the Rainbow Rocket thing to go to trigger. But it's nuts, man. Like just how like what you can do with those games, man. It's all over the place. It's phenomenal. Like they put like 822 Pokemon. There's a couple of them from Gen 8 that I'm trying to remember, but it's like it's crazy to think how they did it on a 32 gigabyte cartridge, or not gigabyte cartridge, a megabyte cartridge. Used to playing so many PSP games, so I'm looking at like the file sizes and all those. But no, like Nintendo games, man, like it's nuts, man. Like again, like a lot of people give Nintendo bad raps every now and again, and I mean I can understand. I mean they are different, but it's like they always did know how to focus on like games, man. Like I mean it's ironic because I found myself like I'd play like some of their games, and then I'd come back to them even after I finished them, because it's like they had you really could learn something from those ideas. And I mean I think Nintendo could take its own advice too. But I still do think they made a lot of great games, Like, even if, like, a lot of people get tired of the main series of Pokemon, what about the hacks people have made that could be even better than the original? That's something to think about. That's huge innovation right there. That, not only do you have, like, a series that you succeeded at, but now you got people that want to make games that are like that. Not just because it's successful, but because they found, like, this magic behind it. It's really interesting, actually. So, again, subscribe, like this video. And if you have any requests, let me know. If I find anything else, I'll let you know.